because there was a good 20 years that I was not in the formal classroom environment between graduate school and my doctoral work. And so then moving on to being a PhD student and a senior level administrator within student affairs. My learning journey is, I'm in a very different place than I was when I think back to being a new professional or being back in graduate school. I am playing and managing so many different roles between being a partner and a parent, and I have a very big job. And on top of that, I'm now a full-time doctoral student. And so there are so many outside demands that influence my learning journey, when I can study, when I'm able to produce coursework. I had the most, I think, humbling experience in my learning journey just this week while being enrolled in this class. I had a traumatic injury and I shattered my ankle and the lower part of my leg. And so if I were in a formal in-person class, I would not be able to see this class through because I'm on bed rest for 3 weeks as I wait for surgery. So I am creating this presentation with my leg elevated in bed and able to do the work because I think I just recognize that I do have these competing demands and my health is important, but that I can balance the learning and the work piece and my personal well-being. When I think about how as a student affairs educator and now how I teach, I really tapped into Dr. Laura Rendon's Santa Passante book. And she talks about this idea of pedagogy, but I do think it applies to adult learners. And this is how I approach my role as an educator now. In the book, she explained that the instructor is really conceptualized as a teacher-learner who possesses knowledge and expertise, but also realizes that no one human being knows everything, right? That they are not the expert, and that the key to learning is to remain open to the experience. That individual is also an artist who fosters creativity and insightful thinking, and they're an activist/social agent who is concerned with social justice work. And they are a healer and liberator who can play a role in healing the wounds of students' past invalidation and releasing self-limiting beliefs. And finally, they're also a humanitarian who views teaching as a service to humanity. So when I think about my work with adult learners, this is the lens through which I approach it. And at this point in my learning journey, I think I've recognized that learning is never done, that it's ongoing, that it's not these series of boxes that we check that I once thought of as an undergraduate or in my K-12 experience. And that my learning in this PhD program has indeed been transformative. Going back to school almost 20 years after being away from the classroom and really being able to reflect on what I want to learn and gain from this experience has been transformative. And now, as an adult learner at this point in my journey, it's also very important for me to be able to make meaning and connections between what I'm doing in the work environment and in my spiritual life and what I'm learning in the classroom. And that I'm not living this siloed life, that I can draw on connections between each of my identities and my roles. And finally, as we read the digital learning chapter, there was one brief testimony to this idea of unplugging. In the digital age, we have so much information at our fingertips, and it's constant that I can Google something and that can lead me to 10 other places down a rabbit hole of learning. I can constantly be on Blackboard through the app. There's a constant access to information. But at this point in my learning journey, I know that it's important to unplug and to take time away so that I can come back to my learning feeling prepared and ready to engage.